cause another upset.
Thank you, Jordan. Time to jump into this match. It's Coastline, as we saw Fnatic play just yesterday against Cyclops, the Japanese team. It was a very good performance from both teams, but Fnatic did come out on top just 7-5. As we head now into the banning phase, Nomad taken away by Fnatic, allowing them to get a little bit more of a roam on that top, a counter the roam rather, flanking up those staircases, and I think that that'll help them quite a lot.
I have to agree, and also this Dockery band's really interesting out of Aerowolf, just I guess helping assist a bit more of a comfortable roam, not having to be buzzed out by those phones. And the Valkyrie band's really great, denying that intel from Fnatic. They really love their Valkyrie players, so that's going to play a bit of an impact on the defense. That final ban being the Echo, a pretty common ban we've seen across this event. Not many teams wanting to play against an Echo, so Fnatic is going to ban that one out so they don't have to worry about it.
One thing I find super interesting is when I was chatting to Dizzle before this match started and talking about the map yesterday between Cloud9 and Aerowolf, and talking about how I was saying that I thought the clash really helped out Aerowolf on Villa, and just in general several of their matches in fact. But Dizzle was pointing out that it was actually the Kaid with that shotgun that was really dealing some serious damage, and I'd expected maybe at some point we'd see, if Dizzle's not such a fan of that shotgun, he'd ban it out, but no, not the case. Perhaps not the right map. Maybe we'll see it later.
Yeah, I'd expect that potentially on one of the other maps. Coastline, not so much a clash played map, as well as a Kaid, like not particularly helpful for some of these bomb sites, but definitely one of the later maps that could come into play, especially Oregon. Yeah, that's a pretty strong map for a Kaid to be played on. Yeah,
and we are guaranteed to see Oregon, even if this match does end up being fairly close. The Fnatic starting on the defense, they'll go to the double bars, with Aerowolf bringing a fairly diverse lineup on the flip side of things. Some good counter utility, Thatcher and some stun grenades, various projectiles to get rid of ADSs and clear into the bomb site. But I think that leveraging these smokes will be a heavy component of the execute for Aerowolf.
Yeah, and I really like the versatility out of this lineup for Aero on attack. They can basically tackle almost anything with that lineup, which is really great. They can clear utility easily with the Zofia and the Thatcher, even the Ashe with that soft breach, and they can open walls if they really want to with the Habana, so it gives them a lot of flexibility on what they want to do.
And I guess a key part of that is that on this map in particular, Coastline, you can't really predict what bomb site you'll be heading to at the start of the game, because all four are viable and different teams have different preferences. So you have to make sure that the lineup you're bringing is versatile enough to... Wait, what? Is that an in... No, okay, there's a lot of damage. Magnet decides to crawl on out of there. Okay, well, that was a bit of early engagement, but Fnatic decided to play patient now.
I really like the confidence out of Aero there. They saw that opportunity, they took it straight away, and that's a really good sign about how Aero are coming into this match. They're clearly bringing through some confidence that they had from yesterday. They're not afraid to just run in and try and take the pick if they see it, and this is really great. And already good early advancements here from Aero taking this lobby side.
Yeah, I'm liking the map control that I'm seeing so far from Aerowolf. Circling in and denying some of this map control from Fnatic, and especially I think on this map and the other downstairs map, bomb site, you really do see that coming into play. But it's a good run out for Virtue on the Jaeger, taking down Speakeasy and in tow both of the smoke grenades available to the Aerowolf lineup.
Yeah, that is a good pick early because it's going to affect how the execute goes down. As you said, it is the only smoke, so they can no longer use the smokes as some form of cover as they want to go for an execute. That being said, with this bomb site, often people will try and push that sunrise bar or even the blue bar and plant without smoke, so it's not necessarily critical for executes on this bomb site. Definitely a hindrance, but not a deal breaker.
I think that this kitchen control is also going to help out a lot, and Hysterics, pushing into that area will, give him some more openings onto various areas. You can cut off a lot of rotations in Sunrise, but, Fnatic are prepared for that. They're used to this bomb site, they're used to defending it using that mirror window, and I think that perhaps disabling it, maybe through Mentalist from above, will really help out. Fnatic love their mirror, and I think Aerowolf just countering that by opening up the floor in Hookah would really, really do some good work.
Yeah, you're right. Fnatic do love their mirror, and it's pretty classic Lusty to play mirror. We've seen Lusty get some really crazy plays on that mirror. He plays it really smart, like on yesterday on Consulate, placing mirrors late in the round. It's a really strong way to play mirror. And that's a nice engagement there. Rizraz is taken very low by the Habana. He's very aware of his position. That's a beautiful refrag though, but Lunar Metal just gets away with his life there. Fnatic unlucky not punishing that. Aces will trade back onto Hysterics to even up man advantage at 3-3. Aero have been tagged quite heavy. Lunar is low, so the HP advantage in Fnatic's favor at the moment. It looks like it will be an Aerowolf push in through the office towards blue bar. There is another engagement. Virtue will take the head of Ysera off. He is tagged later. He gets another one in security. Strong plays from Virtue there. And now it's a 1v3 for Aero. Mentalist the only one alive for Aero. He stepped on a goo. 10 seconds to go. Not with Diffuser. Another Goomon in his foot. He's not going to be able to do too much here. And Fnatic have excellent crossfire set up on a plant position. This is not looking good for Aero at all. And Fnatic look like they're just going to close out this first round. And there we go. Really, really strong defense there from Fnatic in the end.
Yeah, it was a good job through and through from Fnatic. I liked, as you mentioned, the early aggression that we saw from Aerowolf taking map control and that kind of confidence that they had in taking that ground and on those entries. Lunar in particular, I really think we have to commend that effort. Fnatic played very well. You know, the first player was droned out and the first player was injured, but pushing forward a second player to refrag, that's the kind of team chemistry that we really expect, particularly from Fnatic. Among other APAC teams, that is what they are known for.
Yeah, it's really something that they're known for, like you said, and it was pretty lucky because once the Hibana got those 2 frags, it actually looked a little bit grim because Fnatic were quite spread out, and I think Aero just were a little bit too slow to recapitalize on that.
Yeah, but Virtue, we know that as an impact fragger, he will take advantage of those situations, and so perhaps, you know, from Luna's perspective, okay, I've just killed 2 people in this hallway, surely that's it. But no, Fnatic will maintain that pressure, keep it up, and especially since Virtue got that kill onto the player with the diffuser outside, I think that really helped him out. Luna knew that he had to continue peeking, and Virtue's just so confident in his aim.
It's quite interesting talking about the way that they pushed, even though they've already put 2 players towards that for a refrag and they lost both of those. The fact that Virtue aren't afraid to push that, it's actually very Liquid-esque. It's actually the way Liquid implemented their counter of G2 very famously when they beat them at Pro League finals. That is how they out-frag G2. They just really push for refrags no matter how many players they threw at them. So that's a really good pickup in terms of skill on defense there.
Yeah, and it's something we've seen from Fnatic, you know, the ability to leverage that team chemistry with strong individual play and working together. But for Aerowolf now, as they attempt a second attack, it'll be obviously a switch up of the bomb site, this time onto Hookah. So, you know, there is quite a few differences in how you must apply this. I expect we'll probably see a little bit of the different map control taken for Aerowolf. Looks like starting off with Penthouse. Potentially, it's nice to kind of get some map control to leverage, potentially even use Hibana pellets onto the VIP walls. And gain some more angles into the bomb site. But, you know, with the fluid way, as you mentioned, that Fnatic are playing these defenses, it can be very difficult to contain.
Yeah, and at that, we were talking about Classic Lusty on the mirror last round. I think it's really developing into Classic Aces on the Maestro here with that older. I think even if they get man advantage and Aces is on bomb side, Aero can't feel comfortable. He's had some insane clutches with that older, and yeah, he's a scary man to face.
And I think that's something particularly with this bomb site. You have multiple roamers typically, but you always need to prevent the attackers from just rushing into the bomb site and taking that control because it can be very difficult to retake. So Fnatic can trust in Aces and I believe, who is it, Rizraz or someone on site, to just, you know, keep that pressure on to prevent Aerowolf from going for that early aggression. And I think, you know, Aces, you can always trust them with that older to make that happen.
For sure, and Aero taking a bit of a slower, steadier push at the moment. They're taking from the Penthouse side across the map. The bomb site is Hookah, and so they're just going to try and clear these roamers out, figure out exactly where they are, and try cut their rotates. Fnatic are, again, playing together beautifully down here in the lobby. Magnet does get tagged through that hatch, but he does have players with him to help refrag if possible. There is a cutoff there in office, so Fnatic are a little trapped at the moment. It's interesting how Aero are surrounding them here. They're really emphasizing that they want to clear this roam. Aces and Lusty have both been tagged very low on site, so these roamers stuck in a precarious position, and now their anchors are low on HP. This is a strong position for Aero here with just a minute to go.
First frag is taken down onto a roamer. In fact, two of the players trying to roam clear are taken down. Fnatic's triple threat on this roam doing so much work, and once again, it's just Mentalist in a 1 versus 5. Of course, he doesn't have much to work with, a little bit of utility, but he's being pressured from every single angle. Fnatic have the eye onto where Mentalist is pushing, and now it'll be up to him to clutch a 1 versus 5 scenario. 40 seconds, so plenty of time to play with, but really nothing else. And Lusty will clean that up. Fnatic feeling very comfortable.
Yeah, and not only that, they were in a pretty tricky situation, as we said. Their anchors had been taken low, and they were kind of stuck with their roam in terms of like they were surrounded. But Fnatic just played really comfortably with those peaks out of that. They refragged each other really well. In fact, it wasn't even a refrag because they didn't lose anybody, but they re-peaked together, and it's like in sequential order, and that's really great teamwork.
Looks like Aerowolf will be taking a timeout this early on, so just 2 rounds down and already having a chance to talk to their coach, who is in fact actually their team manager. So really this is just an opportunity. As you can see, the players who are really doing most of the talking here is Ysera in the middle, and I expect Lunametal just to his right will also be doing the most of the talking now. I think that's something we can really talk about for Aerowolf. They don't have a coach. Lunametal has repeatedly said that that's what they think the team needs, and he thinks he's the right man for the job, but he hasn't found someone to fill his role on the team. So these guys, just in their tactical timeout, it's just an extra little bit of time for the players to talk about that round and about how they will moving forward into this map, but they don't have that outside perspective of a coach to help them. Yeah,
and I do like the idea of taking a timeout so early. You don't want to bleed too many rounds, especially because you just don't want to be trying to fight the mental game, trying to get back into it. So just to break this early and try and get at the next round, then it's only a 2-1, and it's not really intimidating at all. So I like the tactic employed here with the timeout.
And I really think it's too early to call at the moment. You know, we saw a great performance from Aerowolf just yesterday, but that's on the back of a really poor performance throughout this entire season. You know, it was a miracle that they even got here with their competitor Script falling to the lowest team in the Southeast Asia Pro League, and that's really the reason why Aerowolf qualified today despite a poor season. And I think we can't take anything away from them just yet. It's only 2 rounds.
Yeah, I agree. And we are getting back into it here now with Fnatic taking the penthouse bomb site. We do see 3 ACOG operators selected, so they're going to play some pretty heavy aggressive long angles, I would imagine.
Yeah, whipping out the cogs, as Monkey would say. And I think that, you know, this is just a demonstration of Fnatic's diversity and versatility on these defenses. We've seen them play heavy roams. We've seen them now, obviously they'll be playing a lot of long angles and potentially, you know, maybe some anchor heavy play as well. A lot of information gathering, I expect, in the Maestro, and potentially what I would expect is likely a bulletproof camera on the dock. So Fnatic, they're very, very, very strong team, and they're demonstrating that this is in fact them at full power, not demonstrating that inconsistency that we've been highlighting from them in the past.
Yeah, again, they're showing up strong so far at this LAN, and they've really started to develop this thing about once they get to LAN, they really start to play almost like it's a different gear. They just really change gears completely, and they start to really step up. Their teamwork is incredible, and it's paying off so far. And Magnet almost whiffing on that drone, but it is spotted out. Fnatic with a pretty heavy roam here over on the opposite side of the map to the bomb site, and that is one of the ACOGs there with the dock. So they're trying to play these long angles, potentially into VIP, where we do see Virtue playing also for a crossfire. The Montaigne is going to try and push from the hookah, so they're going to try and push out these roamers and clear them out. Rizraz did drop below there in the courtyard, and he just misses one at the lobby door. There is one in Sunrise waiting, though. He will take him out. That is Speakeasy on the Jackal. It is a nice early cut there, and Magnet was close by for a refrag, but just couldn't quite get into the position to get a shot off.
It's a good take so far for Aerowolf. Obviously, we've seen some potential opportunities where they have stalled out, but you know, catching some of these roamers on rotations, I think that's a great strategy against Fnatic right now. We know how mobile that they're trying to be, but as we mentioned, they've brought a lot of these ACOG operators who are 1-speed, so they don't have that that mobility that they would previously, and yet they're still trying to move around on their roam, and Aerowolf able to cut them out much more easily.
Magnet feeling pretty good here. It doesn't look like he's been droned out. I think he's just going to try and hold this angle because I'm believing that he expects he hasn't been found, and he hasn't been found at all. He will take out that Jackal. Really patiently played there by Magnet. I really like that. And we see 2 defenders now just on bomb site. The roam's starting to dwindle a little bit. Fnatic, Virtue is still playing a slightly aggressive position in VIP, but it looks like Aero might be favoring the luggage side. That's where the Montaigne is pushed with another attacker behind him. Magnet trying to run out on the Zofia, but he is fragged for his attempts, and that's a 4v3 advantage to Aero.
The Montaigne as well, something that we've seen as a staple for Aerowolf and often banned against them. That'll be something to help leverage these choke points and gain a little bit more information for the team. And in this case, it's Lunametal, the captain and IGL, pointing out the position of Lusty, but we know how well Luna can also frag on this operator. He'll attempt some hip fires onto Lusty, who's very, very keen to peek this, but a flashbang's very good against him, and Lunametal will take that as an opportunity to peek and take down the Rook.
That was some really nice teamwork from Aero there just to pinch out that Rook. He was pretty ineffective at the end of the day once they threw the stun grenades out. So with the 4v2 man advantage, Expect to see Aero to secure this plant. Ace is in a very tricky position in this corner. Hysterics will tag out Virtue, so now it is Aces on that Alder all by himself. 4v1 definitely not out of the realm of possibility, but not today. Yasera will finish it off for Aero.
A great round for Aerowolf, and we can see they are back in the game. That tactical timeout certainly helped them regain some composure, and we're finally seeing the Aerowolf that we're more familiar with. Using that Montaigne, leveraging the kinds of playstyles that we know works for them, and also finding some effective counters to the way that Fnatic are playing. And with that mobility again on that early roam, Fnatic just want to keep moving around together. And we saw it the Legion and the Doc early in that round, moving together, getting up these refrags, setting up crossfires, and playing very fluidly, as you mentioned. I think that it's been a good counter from Aero in the way that they were holding these rotations and playing patiently to counter that play style.
Yeah, I really like that they weren't necessarily hard pushing that roam at all. They just took their positions and held the angles. It was a really patient angle from the Jackal in the bar, just waiting for that courtyard rotate. So they got that early pick, which was really great. And then once they had a little bit of control, they just rotated to the push that they wanted to do, which was away from the trap that Fnatic had set up in VIP. So a really excellent read from Aero to decide to push the theater, and they executed it really well. So strong from Aero to come out of that rotate and just break that momentum and take it back into their advantage.
Now, moving into the fourth round, they've ditched the Montaigne, so I think this is something positive we're seeing from Aerowolf. They know that the Monty is good, but they don't want to fall into a very predictable pattern. Instead, they'll leverage some new utility, bringing, once again, the Jackal that they had earlier on, but we've seen a switch around to some of these roles. It's now Luna Metal playing the Jackal, and we've seen he's comfortable to go for these entry frags, whereas Speakeasy, who we saw, you know, playing the Jackal previously, he's on the Glaz. So Aerowolf have a new kind of utility that Fnatic perhaps a bit less expecting.
Yeah, that's a really interesting pick there out of Speakeasy on that Glaz. It's going to be, I'm curious how they're going to use it. I'd expect to see a server push, I mean a supply push, because you can't really get nice long angles with Glaz pushing the other side. Yeah, we see some pretty aggressive drones here already on bomb site though, one on the bomb, so they might push straight into that Sunrise. It could be a relatively quick push. They're setting up some claymores here for these runouts. They are heavy on the Ruin side. And they're just going to have to try and take it a little bit easier, not go too quick. I don't think they want to play into Fnatic's ability to handle chaos. And Aero just want to be cautious if they're going to try and do something quick.
I think one of the key things for Fnatic on this one will be how they can deal with, if it does come down to it, you know, these smoke grenades. Because we do have 4 of them from Aerowolf, and the ability to look through them as well with the Glaz will help out astronomically. And, you know, those Evil Eyes could assist, but I don't think we've seen a ton from them. That's map control.
That's
in fact,
really
bomb-site
confident
control
push
from Luna Metal. The Captain, IGL, and entry fragger for Aerowolf finds 2 early peaks, and Fnatic perhaps a little bit in disarray as they don't have all of their mirror windows set up to retake Blue Bar, and the push from Aerowolf coming from multiple angles. There's a good repeat though from Lusty, but not good enough as Luna Metal takes him down, but Fnatic fight back and take down Luna. The player advantage only just in favor of Aerowolf, but no longer. 2 versus 2. We still have so much time, but Aerowolf are being picked apart. They had an advantage, but now it's a 1 versus 1. Aces with the Alder. We've said it before. He's amazing in clutch situations, and all up to just Speakeasy, the newest player on the team, who has ammunition. No one does. What weapon are we going to use here? Speakeasy surely can't win this.
With the Bailiff.
With the Bailiff, nothing left in the Alder. How does that happen?
Oh, that was unreal what happened there. Unfortunate for Aero, Luna made such a great play to push into that blue bar. He got a 3K all by himself in that blue bar, but I think they were waiting for Diffuser. It looked like Mentalist was still by himself out in Ruin, so it delayed them, and Fnatic were able to capitalize that. Coming down to that 1v1 with Aces, you know you got to back Aces in that situation.
Oh,
so comfortable in those positions. And while that duel was pretty interesting and it eventuated with the Bailiff kill, really well played again from Fnatic just to hold out. We're going to see Aero here bringing their standard lineup. They are 6 picking off that Hibana to Montaigne. Again, Hibana not particularly useful on coastline, not too many walls that you usually need to open. You can get some line of sights, but generally it's not required.
Yeah, I find it really interesting to see, you know, Luna Metal, he makes a very good entry. He's exceptional entry fragger, good game sense, good IGL call, and then he switches onto the Montaigne. And I think it really comes down to Aerowolf are changing their playstyle, the way they're thinking about some of their playstyle between these rounds, and Luna Metal in particular having to flex constantly. surely it becomes quite demanding. If you're the captain, you're the IGL, and you're also, you know, flexing really drastically on your operators and roles, that surely has a big impact on how well you can actually manage each of those games and each of those plays that you're trying to make.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of pressure, and it's very exhausting. So when you come to these marathon kind of series and these marathon kind of tournaments, it can be really draining. So we're going to have to see a lot of Aerowolf step up. We did see Mentalist step up really well yesterday. He played such a great game on Villa. So if he can get into the game here, that will really help ease some pressure and really help Aero get back into it.
And this defense now of Hookah, we can see a lot of parallels between this Hookah defense and that Bars defense, especially with this mirror window downstairs. Fnatic really well set up, and I do really like their strategies that they are employing. They just look like such a comfortable team right now. You know, they have their strategies, they've done their practice, and their individual players are feeling confident, and they just look so well set up. And that said, you know, at the end of the day, the pressure is on for Fnatic. They know that their, you know, their sister team, Norengo, is already qualified for Milan, and Norengo and Fnatic always expect that they'll be the two going to those events. And Aerowolf don't expect anything out of this, I think. You know, they didn't expect to beat Cloud9, and yet they did, and now they're coming into up to Fnatic. You know, the pressure is on for Fnatic, almost nothing on for Aerowolf. How will this affect how these teams perform?
Well, I mean, Fnatic have always been historically really great with staying confident. They're quite a confident team in general. They carry themselves really well with their confidence. And I think, yeah, like you said, with Norengo already qualifying, that gives Fnatic even more motivation just to push hard and fight hard and get this win. Aero, little expectations. I think that works in their favor. And again, Coastline is actually a defender-started map, so the fact that they're down 1-3, it's not too critical at this moment. If Aero can actually equalize a 3-3 for the first half, that's a pretty strong performance, actually, for an attack. So Aero just need to get the next 2 rounds, and it's definitely still a very strong winnable position for them.
Yeah, I mean, this is still a pretty good position. That said, you know, Coastline can sometimes be attacker favored. You'd think they'd get a couple more rounds on this attack, but the way that Fnatic play is just like so typical Fnatic. You know, this very fluid defense, this very roam heavy, very G2-esque style of play. And I think that, you know, playing to their strengths, they will, of course, be more successful on their defense.
Yeah, we just see Luna here pushing quite aggressively into bomb site with the Montagne, getting a lot of intel for his team. He's very surrounded though, and there's players below, so if he's not careful, he can get fragged out or even see forward from below. We see his teammates trying to get some intel, trying to figure out how they can get this execute off. Fnatic in some very strong positions, really surrounding the bomb site, making it hard for Aero to push in. And at this stage, 45 seconds to go, we haven't really seen any engagements. There's just a little bit of HP taken off Luna. No, not even any HP taken off Luna, so it's no engagements at all, and almost 30 seconds to go. We're going to have to see an execute happening, and Virtue will get the opening frag. 30 seconds to go, 4v5 for Fnatic. Magnet is taken low, but not quite out of the game at this stage. He's just going to try to stay passive near that Vase position. Now, Montaigne is pushing up and calling out Lusty's position at that drinks bar. We are just seeing a really late execute coming out of Aero here, so this is going to get very chaotic very quick in a second, Dev.
Oh, there you go, a great bait from Luna Metal. And Mentalist finds 2 opening frags onto the Fnatic players. 3 frags for Mental, but he's taken down. Virtue stepping up as needed. It's a 2K pushing onto the bomb side. He's refragged. Just Rizraz who finds that C4 kill, but the plant is down. It'll have to be a retake, and Ysera
nice
closes out the round. Aerowolf get one step closer to ending this half with an advantage.
A really great execute there from Aero, and we're talking at the start of that round about other players stepping up for Aero. I mentioned Mentalist had a great game yesterday, and look at that, he opened that with a 3K at the start of that execute. Really, really well played by Aero. It was very chaotic, and Virtue almost brought it back for Fnatic. That C4 coming just a tad late as the plant managed to get down, and oh, really intense finish to that round. Well played by Aero, and even well played by Fnatic. A really close round, and that'll be 3-2 now. So as I was saying, if Aero can get this to 3-3, that's a really big win for an attack phase on Coastline. It's really more favored to defenses. You normally see like a 4-2 advantage going into the end of the first half. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
I think a lot of the time it comes down to the operator bans, but you know, with these, I think I'd agree with you. You know, the defense should be feeling pretty comfortable. The loss of the Valk, I think, often would trouble me, I think, on Coastline. I think there's a lot of really good opportunities to use Valkyrie and Echo on Coastline, but I don't think Fnatic have struggled at all for information. We've seen the Maestro devices being incredibly useful in leveraging the the mirrors as well. You know, they always have information, and their roamers are gaining information as well, and I think that the combination of all that means that Fnatic aren't having such an issue with that Valk ban that Aero did against them.
Yeah, and you'd think that Valk ban would affect the roamers the most. Often Valk is the most critical intel operator for on the roam, but we saw earlier on really strong roaming frags from Fnatic, so they're definitely getting the information they need, whether that's through sound cues or whether it's through other uses of utilities such as Evil Eyes or bulletproof cameras. But yeah, the Valkyrie ban hasn't seemed to have affected Fnatic at the moment. They're going to be looking to close this out on a 4-2, so they only have to worry about 3 rounds on attack. Aero really want to get this 3-3 so they can equalize the half. We see Fnatic setting up pretty similarly to we saw last time. Ace is on that Maestro again. He's going to play a really nice position on that shield behind the hookah bar. And looks like Fnatic, again, yeah, setting up very similarly to last time. And hopefully Aero can push a little bit quicker so we don't have to see such a chaotic execute towards the end.
Yeah, with this hold from Fnatic though, really relying on that hookah control to prevent that push from inside of the aquarium. You know, with those mirror windows facing that direction and facing onto hookah as well, the thing that I worry about is, you know, when you play a mirror, yes, it's a very powerful piece of utility, but if the enemy does actually bring the utility or just goes and puts themselves into the position to counter those mirror windows, you're really going to struggle, and I think that's exactly what Aerowolf are doing. Playing below, they will have an opportunity to open the floor and take out these mirror windows, which will worry me for Fnatic, I think.
Yeah, and Aero are just taking their time. As you said, they have to worry about the angles they're pushing in with those mirrors, and they really don't want to lose anybody early. What was really strong is the fact that they had the 5v5 when they went for the chaotic execute. If you already have a man disadvantage at that stage, then it can be a real big disadvantage. So Aero just want to make sure that at least if they get into an engagement, they can just secure that opening pick. Virtue has been tagged on these cool vibe stairs, but he's just going to play that really passive. He's going to play the prone angle, trying to get a sneaky pick into the VIP. He is droned out though, that mute jammer not really helping him to be concealed there. Hysterics is aware, and he's just going to pop back on another drone in blue bar and try to keep an eye out on those holes above so he's not tagged low by somebody unsuspectingly. Again, Aero playing a very cautious game. They're starting to approach that aquarium side. Speakeasy is in the luggage room and he is droning forward, but no teammates with him, so they're not really ready for anything at this stage. A minute to go though, so this is going to start favoring Fnatic because that chaos can not necessarily always go in the favor of attackers. Some would say, especially with a smoke up, that couldn't really be a bad position for attackers. So Aero are going to have to start thinking about making some kind of move.
We do hear some Hibana pellets rattling on out. Of course, as it does come down to those final moments, we'll see Lunametal's Ying be more and more powerful. We're likely to see a final push in. And last time Aerowolf attacked this bomb site, they did have a really strong push from multiple directions. No Monty this time, but that Ying could suffice as a replacement. Just 30 seconds left, and Fnatic throwing out their utilities to delay this push. They have very good positions, but Aerowolf may well counter that with their utilities, such as these Candelas, pushing Fnatic further down the stairs. Diffuser in hands of Aerowolf. They're trying to plant this, but I'm not sure if they can make it work for them. This push from the aquarium side into pool has struggled a little bit, and a good frag and C4 from Aces does the work. Fnatic in the numbers advantage, but Lusty, what are you doing? It's a team kill, but he does deny the plans, and that's enough for Fnatic to win the round.
Really great defense there from Fnatic. They just played a really nice, patient, intel-based game. They waited for Aero to make their move, and they just shut them down really strong there. There was the team kill with the C4, but he also did get a enemy frag at the same time, so it was nullified, and yeah, Fnatic just closed that out. It was a really great performance from them.
Moving into this next round, though, does make me a little bit, worried for Aerowolf. It's not a great position to be in moving into the second half, but I've seen worse before. 4-2 towards Fnatic's side. Aerowolf need to regain some composure.
Yeah, they do. They just need to make sure that they're aware that defense favors them, and Fnatic will be happy with a 4-2 advantage, and I would say that's what I would have expected from a defense, especially someone as strong as Fnatic for the first half. So Aero just need to fight the mental game here. They need to stay confident. They need to understand that they can play really strong defenses as well, and they played super strong defenses on Villa yesterday. So they just need to stay with it, and they've gone for Kitchen here for their first bomb site, which I really like. Speakeasy will play a Vigil, so would expect to see quite an aggressive roam potentially out of Aero, trying to time delay as well as get some early picks onto Fnatic. Nothing particularly special here coming out of Fnatic, though. They do have a Twitch pick, which is quite interesting. Perhaps they were expecting a mirror. Other than that, business as usual. Lusty on the Jackal for those smokes, and Hag on a pretty iconic buck as well.
It is a bit odd to me, I think, the bringing that Twitch instead of an IQ we've seen a lot of from Rizraz recently. Maybe, as you said, expecting the mirror, but I would much more typically see Aerowolf bringing a lineup such as this one, you know, a little bit of aggression. They do like to bring these operators that aren't mirror, you know, something a little bit less conventional. In this case, the Doc and the Vigil together, obviously great fraggers, still a lot of ability to roam, and perhaps in lieu of that, we'll see Aerowolf have a very similar defense to what we've seen from Fnatic.
Yeah, it looks like Fnatic are going to favour pushing from this west side here. They're going to try to start taking into that Sunrise bar. Magnet is by himself up in this aquarium balcony. He's going to start trying to get top floor control as well, because they will want to put some vertical pressure with that buck onto the defenders on site so they can clear them out and potentially get some picks as those defenders try to move around into comfortable positions. Rizraz aggressively on the Cool Vibe stairs. He will succeed in getting the frag. Agumine taking him low, but not much at all. And that is the Vigil out early, so now that is not something they need to worry about moving forward here. Luna has got himself into the courtyard nice and early. If Fnatic aren't aware of his position, then he could punish them quite late. Ysera is playing the penthouse, so if Fnatic do want to take top floor control, they will have to worry about the roamers flanking them as well, Dev.
Yeah, no, I do expect Fnatic trying to take that top floor control because of, you know, the buck, but there's no nomads, so they won't be able to just forgive and forget all of the roam play flanking up those stairs, as you mentioned. I think Fnatic feeling pretty good at the moment. You know, they've taken some good ground. They have that opening pick, but moving forward into this next step, starting to take the rest of the ground that they require and then opening up onto the bomb side, I think that's going to be much more challenging for them, the way that Aerowolf are currently roaming.
Yeah, and Aero really stacking this lobby here. It looks like they might want to try and make an aggressive play on the Virtue, but he has a really strong angle, and he's also
it's a bait
on the drone. Yeah, it's an excellent bait, actually. Virtue potentially might try to take a aggressive frag. He is pushing up, but they're not looking at it. He almost gets those shots off, but not quite. He's going to try and re-pick this, but the other players aren't trying to have any of it. Luna is trying to push up towards this door, but will he engage with Virtue? He's holding a really tight angle here, and this is a really patient game. We do see Ysera push up and frag Magnet out as Magnet attempts to come and help Virtue. Virtue will get the frag onto Luna, and Lusty frags onto Mentalist. There's a 2v4 advantage to Fnatic now. Aero very tagged up. Ysera with a nice shotgun there. Hysterics is fragged out by Rizraz now, though. Ysera very low health, a 1v3, and the plant is going down. 40 seconds to go.
That's a soft wall, though, and Ysera, if he had the information, could deny the plant, but in fact, no information from Aerowolf, and now it's a real desperate attempt in a 1 versus 3 retake. Fnatic look like they have this one in the bag, and as you were saying before, that it's a defensive favored map, and Aerowolf should be not too worried about this. Fnatic take the first round on their attack. Aerowolf had the choice of 4 bomb sites, and none of them would work for them. Rizraz closing out the round. Both Rizraz and Virtue, good picks and good openings, and really? That's dirty.
That's a nice angle and just absolute abuse of perspectives there. Really well played by Rizraz and some insane confidence from Fnatic with their fragging. We saw that early with Rizraz taking that aggressive push on the Cool Vibe, getting that early pick. I think that was really critical to the success of Fnatic's attack there, and it really led the confidence because Virtue also backed himself in that security room to take those frags, and that worked out really well for them. So I really like that from Fnatic.
It's a really good read from Fnatic right now into the Aerowolf playstyle, and that's what I think we've seen a lot of this weekend. It comes down to, you know, how it's not specifically reading a strategy, it's reading the playstyle that the enemy have been using, and Norengo did it excellently against Xavier, and Xavier did it very poorly against Norengo. Now we're seeing Fnatic do exactly what they need to do to contain any of this roam play from Aerowolf. It can be a bit back and forth, but Fnatic, with their focus onto the bomb side at the same time as sending individuals dedicated to occupying multiple Aerowolf players, I think Fnatic are just very strong on this defense, sorry, on this attack. And now Aerowolf picking the same defense, so Fnatic are going to be very happy to just, you know, do the same thing again, make any changes that they feel necessary.
Yeah, we do see some changes in operators from Aero there. I'm quite surprised to see them take the same bomb site because, as we were mentioning before, Coastline has all 4 viable bomb sites. So if you don't feel comfortable on one, you can switch to another, and it's not like they lost that round closely. I think that was relatively convincing for Fnatic. They definitely controlled that last round very much so. So Aero deciding to go back here, they must have a good plan up their sleeve with this Elo especially.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit worried for Aerowolf at the moment. It looks like a fairly disjointed setup, and on the flip side, Fnatic, you know, the way that they're striding towards the building, I don't know, there's just an air of confidence with Fnatic that I can't quite put my finger on, but they really do feel like, you know, they're in their element right now, and you know, these operators that they're bringing to the table, even if they don't have directly effective utility to countering, you know, major things such as, you know, mirror windows and such, which we're not seeing present, you know, Rizraz doing exactly what he needs to with that Twitch, just allowing himself to drone a little bit further than he might otherwise, taking out the mute jammers.
I think Fnatic, something that's we're not really touching on too much, is they seem to have a really strong drone game here. Their drone economy in prep phase is really good, and they're starting to get their drones in really strong, powerful positions. And I think that's what's really enabling their confidence. They're getting really good intel early on what Aero is doing, and they're able to just confidently decide, you know what, they're going to try and do this, we're going to push and cut that off, or we're going to push and get these frags. And I think, yeah, it's all enabled by their droning.
Not a lot of time gone now in the round, just a third, and you know, Fnatic, slow and steady, wins the race at the moment. Oh, that's a close angle, and Asteric slowly peeking. You did see the little hat of the Twitch player, but it wasn't enough, and Rizraz, an excellent play to take that down. Just a lot of patience from Fnatic. I'm really impressed by everything we've seen from them so far. Every time Aerowolf decide that they're going to make a play, Fnatic are prepared and they're ready for it. Mentalist, though, starting to do some good work onto the bomb site, but it's a great entry for Fnatic. There is a bit of a reply from Aerowolf, but there are numbers disadvantage now. Fnatic do, however, have Rizraz on the floor, and there's a good peek from Speakeasy. Fnatic on the back foot, just Virtue left, and he's taken down. Aerowolf are aware of it, and they finish off the round. They're back in the game, 3-5.
Really well played from Aero there. They weathered a bit of a storm from Fnatic. They tried to do what looked like a bit of an explosion onto site. They had the smoke grenades come out, and they tried to really push and take the control, and Aero were able to just block that straight away and, yeah, really punish Fnatic for it. So really well played from Aero. They've got themselves back into it a little bit here, and we're going to expect to see them go. We're going to Blue Bar and Sunrise now, which is a good pick. It's a difficult bomb site to attack. Sometimes there's a lot of angles into the plant spots.
And we did see 2 defense wins from Fnatic on the bomb site, but you know, one of them was a clutch from Aces, and you know, Aerowolf did a pretty good job at picking apart this bomb site, and that of course tells us that they're familiar with a lot of ways to defend it. So picking away from the mirror window, something that Fnatic used very, very well. Aerowolf, it's just, as I was saying, not as much in their play style, but the thing that seems to be a bit of a problem for me at the moment is that, you know, Aerowolf, obviously they're making these decisions of what utility they'll take based on what they're used to and what works in their play style, but Fnatic are countering their play style.
Yeah, you're right there. Fnatic are definitely countering their play style. And that's a really important part of when you actually try to counter-strat an opponent, is you don't always want to be just countering exactly how they set up things and how they progress through a map. You want to try and figure out how they play and why they play how they play. And once you get a good read on that, which I'm sure these teams have of each other because they've played each other so much in the past, that's when you start to get really interesting countering happening. And it looks like Aero are going to try and play some aggressive upstairs here. They do have a pulse with some intel. They're going to want to deny that upstairs control because Magnet will rip that floor open and start moving some defenders around. And that will make it really uncomfortable for Aero on side. And that's when Fnatic will be ready for their execute. So I'd expect to see them try and push across from potentially the penthouse side just so they can get that early map control and confidently take across towards Aquarium and Billiards.
It's funny that you say that these guys play each other a lot because, yeah, it's true. But at the same time, we think about it. The last time these guys faced off at APAC Finals, it was actually a year ago. It was a Season 7 finals. That's 2 seasons past, and it really has been a while, I think, for these teams now. You know, these guys have changed a lot in that year. Fnatic have made various roster changes. It's actually just Virtue, who's the new one from that previous year's roster. But for Aerowolf, you know, Mentalist and even Speakeasy as well. So both of these teams have changed quite a bit, and obviously the accolades of Fnatic have increased. The reputation of Aerowolf perhaps not. So it's been a while for these teams, and I think that yes, they have some long-standing knowledge of how each team plays, but there's also you know, a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah, and Luna just missing that C4 onto Rizraz. That was quite unfortunate for him. Rizraz not even tagged by that C4. Rizraz lucky to get away with his life there. He's just going to claim all that rotate off, and he's going to keep droning ahead. So you do see Fnatic with some penthouse control here, so they can start taking across the luggage. They'll probably try and take from the Aquarium side and get a plant into Billiards. Pretty much untouched on the hookah side at this stage. Virtue is just trying to get some more intel for his team. And we see Lusty here on the sails as well. He can get a nice pick onto the Maestro. He will down him, but can he finish it off? It's hard to get that angle, but he finally gets it onto Mentalist. That is the mute taken out pretty early there with over a minute to go, and I believe a C4 that would have been left in his pocket. Rizraz with a confident push around and takes out the player playing at Drinks Bar, so they now have control of above. Aces with another frag. It's a 2v5.
Oh my God, Riz.
Another nice shot coming out of him, and now it's all falling apart for Aero. This is heavy in Fnatic's favor, and Hysteric's all by himself trying to hold from the kitchen. You'd expect that he's not going to be able to pull too much here. Magnet's the only one on Fnatic that is tagged to low HP. 45 seconds is a long time to try and stall out 5 players all by yourself. He will try to pre-fire to deter. He has been droned out, so they're aware of the position he's playing in. And look at them just progress towards him, and he will be fragged out, and Fnatic with a really strong round there heading to match point.
Fnatic are looking so good right now, and we in fact may see a very convincing scoreline on map number 1. It is, of course, Fnatic's pick, so you know they have that going for them. This is where Fnatic wanted to head to. It's where they're feeling comfortable, but you know, Aerowolf haven't really shown anything for it. This is looking like, you know, grade A Fnatic that we've talked about so much.
Yeah, and I think so much off the back of confidence. Rizraz, again, with some really confident pushes. He ended up pushing really aggressively through that billiards to get that frags onto drinks, and it was favored by Lusty also getting that frag in the hookah, so then all of a sudden they had that top floor control, and it just all fell from there. It was, yeah, quite a confident push again from Fnatic.
And once again, from Fnatic, this lineup, you know, they're picking a lot of operators that they just feel really happy to play. You know, Rizraz in particular, for example, on the Twitch. Yeah, he can take out a few mute jammers, drone himself a little bit further than otherwise, but on top of that, when it comes to these gunfights and these entries that we know Rizraz will be in positions for, he has the F2. It's one of the best guns in the game. He's not going to lose those fights, and we've seen him rack up 2-3 kills a round because of that.
Yeah, you're right there, and it's only one round now for Fnatic to secure this match, so they've done all the hard work, they've pushed confidently before, they're going to see Aero take the same double bars bomb side again, so they've pushed this already. Magnet has gone to the Ash, so we might see an even more aggressive, confident push from Fnatic here. They might be looking to finish this really quickly, and it's not looking too good for Aero. They're setting up pretty similar, so we might have to see Aero try and counter and bounce back on the second map here, Dev.
Yeah, it's looking like a long stretch for Aerowolf to even attempt to, you know, retake this one. It looks like Lunametal attempts a very, very aggressive peek, just waiting for some shots and hoping to click back, but it's not successful. He does land one blow onto Rizraz, but it's not too much, and Rizraz still very happy to push forward on those drones, entering just after Aces, who gains this information, and Rizraz dealing a little bit of damage. He can... Oh, what? Ooh. How does Luna find that kill? But at the end of it, there's a good refrag, and Rizraz not finished off. Virtue should secure this revive, and I think that that's the save from Fnatic.
Yeah, and look at that. Rizraz pushed with such insane confidence just through that security. He had the drone in front of him, and he wasn't afraid at all, and he almost got the pure frag to Luna. Virtue did come in and save him there, and Fnatic are going to take that early man advantage 5v4. They've still got 2 minutes to formulate a push here, and they have control of the office already. Whether they're going to maintain that is yet to be seen. Ysera is holding an aggressive angle above here, so they could be trapped, but at this stage, it's definitely favoring Fnatic on this attack. Hysterix is over in the theater here, but that doesn't actually act too much towards bomb site, so he's going to have to try and pull out an effective flank, which hasn't worked for Aero yet on defense.
And I can hear the comms from Fnatic right now. They're playing very confidently. They're just, you know, screaming out these call-outs to each other. They can feel this. They can feel it coming. There's only 1.5 minutes left remaining for them. They have the numbers advantage. They have some excellent ground, and they have the great utility. That's a perfect collapse onto Hysterix, cleaning up that top floor roam. We're using the Jackal utility and multiple players, and everything is working right for Fnatic right now. Aerowolf just haven't found these positions. You know, Fnatic pushing in. They have some very good map control, and they're picking apart Aerowolf one by one. Just 2 players left. Ysera does find the 1 kill, but with this level of communication from Fnatic, there's immediately going to be surely some kind of opportunity for a refrag, and that's exactly what happens. It's a 1 versus 4 for Speakeasy to save this map. Just a Maestro player, and Lusty will close out map number 1 for Fnatic.
What a strong performance there from Fnatic. That was insanely fought by them. Well played.
Yeah, so again, another coastline that goes the way of Fnatic. This time, of course, up against Aerowolf, and that one even more comfortable than what we saw from them against CAG. So maybe the semi-final looking a little bit cruisier for Fnatic than their quarterfinal.
Yeah, it actually is. They were relatively unchallenged on that. They did have some rounds that didn't really go in their favor, and Aero looked strong, but Aero didn't really back that up and keep pushing with that. So Fnatic just countered them, and it was a bit of a steamroll at the end of the day.
Yeah, it really was. I think that, seeing that first half where Fnatic was so happy on those defenses, they felt so comfortable with their roamers, their mobility and their communication, and that was the real thing that was just protruding throughout the entire map. That level of communication meant that Fnatic was always prepared for what was coming next.
We've got Oregon coming up next, and things are looking pretty straightforward right now for Fnatic. We sort of expected that they would be the team to come through from this semi, but maybe the fashion in which this is occurring, we hoped for more maybe from Aerowolf, and that was certainly what we saw last night from Aerowolf, a lot more than what we expected. But are we getting that same sense today, or is it kind of back to square one for Aerowolf?
I mean, Coastline was their pick as well, so I'm feeling it's potentially back to square one. I think the way Fnatic are playing with this aggression, Oregon's probably going to favor them quite a bit. So yeah, it's going to be definitely a really uphill battle for Aero here.
We saw some flashes of greatness though from Aerowolf on their attacks. Luna's entry into bar worked really well, and unfortunately they lost that entire round. But Aerowolf have played so well. They've used the Monte to great effect. They've had some things that didn't work out quite so well though as well, and I think it really comes down to just Fnatic are on top of their game right now. It's the fundamentals that's really working out for Fnatic, this communication, and that's in fact exactly what Dizzle was telling me before the match. He said both of these teams are really good, we know how each other play, well, how we're going to beat Aerowolf will be the fundamentals. It's exactly what Fnatic is doing.
So how do Aerowolf come back into this? What do they need to be saying right now? They've got about a 5-minute break. You talk about Fnatic being so strong, but surely there's a way that Aerowolf can disrupt this and make this their own map.
They need to try and get things back on their own terms. So what was happening with Fnatic is because they were playing so confidently, communicating so well, they just weren't being cut off. So Aero need to read into exactly what Fnatic are going to do. They're going to try to take confident plays. And so Aero need to work together as a team to be able to counter that, set up really nice crossfires, and also not be afraid to play aggressive themselves, because they're an aggressive team.
Yeah.
That's what they're known for.
The aggression works so well for them as well. The thing that we don't see when those aggressive players worked was the follow-ups. And that's really the thing that's missing from Aerowolf. We've talked about how Fnatic, those fundamentals, those refrags, that communication, it works so well. There's always a second player to back up when someone makes a good play, and that's what we're not seeing from Aerowolf. There are no expectations on Aerowolf, and that's how you get that level of confidence. And I think that's all we need to see. We need to see them say, look, guys, we beat Cloud9, and they only got 2 rounds off us. Look, we put up a fight to Fnatic. It's time for map number 2. No expectations. Let's just have some fun and do it right.
Yeah, there certainly needs to be some kind of a change up here for Aerowolf, doesn't there? But I've been given the word, guys. Devmata is hungry, so we need to go to a break. We'll be back in just a second with map number 2.